here we are, today's lesson. So for those of you who don't know where we are, we're coding with Python, right? And we're on our first lesson, output. Okay, so today we're just getting ourselves organized, right? We're getting ourselves organized and we've just got a few nice, easy intro tasks to do. Don't forget we've got our knowledge organizer here. We want to have a look at what print statements are, which is what we're looking at today. So first of all, like always, we have a PowerPoint. So if we open up our PowerPoint by clicking on that link there, enable editing, right? So as always, stick your name at the top there, and this will be what I collect in at the end. Any code you do, you can screenshot or put links in there, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Right, so get that opened, downloaded, and then we need to get ourselves organized in terms of Python. So there's two different options here. Okay, now for those people who are a little bit more tech savvy, you could go for option one. Now to do that, you would have to download Knole, right? So you click on the link here and you download the Windows version, and then you install it and you're good. Right, so once it opens, you just type Knole into your search bar and you get this program appear here. Right, so this is what you can use this on your computer whether you're online or not, right, to answer the questions. Right, so that's one option. Now for those of you who are not, either you don't have your own computer, you're not allowed to install anything, you don't know how to do that, then you go for option two. And option two is a browser-based Python. So all you need is a website. You can even do this on your phone, right? Don't need anything fancy. It works 100% as long as you're using Chrome. I can't say about every browser, but it definitely works in Chrome, right? So I click on Code Sculptor here, and it takes me to this window, right? So I can now code in this window, as you'll see in a second, so I'm going to show you that, and the output will appear in this window here. Right, so this is just a web page, as you can see, and this web page allows you to run your code inside of Code Sculptor. Okay, so make sure you click on the link. If you type Code Sculptor into Google, just be careful, because if I type Code Sculptor in, right, and don't go to Code Sculptor 3, which is the new version of Python. If I go to Code Sculptor, you can see I get this, and this is an old version for Python 2, and we want Python 3. So make sure you don't just type in Code Sculptor. It's Code Sculptor 3, and if you're not sure, just click on the link on here, and it will take you to Code Sculptor 3. So I just wanted to make that clear. Right, so now we're sorted, we're organized. So if we're downloading a Python, that might take us 5-10 minutes. So we're just going to look at output today in Python. So how we put things out or output things onto the screen. So I'm going to show you in Knole and in Code Sculptor. Right, it's really simple. Right, so if we're in Knole, we make a new file. Okay, so we make a new file. Let's just have a look at the chat. Don't worry if you keep disconnecting. This is being recorded, so you can just watch it back later. Okay, so if you disconnect, you can just watch this whole thing back later. That's why I'm recording it. Right, so in Knole, it says go new file. So if I'm in Knole here, it just means go file new. You see I get a brand new file here called Untitled, and we're there ready to create our first program. So if we're in Knole, we do this. If we're in Code Sculptor, we don't need to do anything. Right, we've already got a new file here. Right, so the first program is print hello world. So I'm going to copy the text just so I don't make a mistake, and I'm going to put it into Knole first, right, just like I've showed on here. So I'm going to paste it into Knole. You can see there. And then when I try to run it in Knole, it's going to ask me to save the file because look, it's called Untitled. It doesn't like that. So when I run it, it's going to say pop up with a save window. So I'm just going to put Python year 7 hello world, I'll call it. Oops, not hello world, hello world. Right, really simple. Call it that. Click save. Right, and then hello world appears in the shell. So this is the output window for Thonny, the shell window. So I printed hello world and it's appeared out. Now really print shouldn't have a space, but it doesn't really matter on this, but print without a space is better. So hello world, there you go. Now let's go to okay, what are you confused about? What are you confused about? Right, if you're not using Thonny, we're going to use Code Sculptor. Right, so our first task is to type in the code print hello world. Right, so we're going to output. Right, we're going to output some code. Right, so for those people who are confused, focus on the Code Sculptor. Okay, so those of you who are confused, what you're going to do is you're going to open your PowerPoint, get organized, click on Code Sculptor, because if you're confused, clearly you're not going to be able to use Thonny, right? You're not going to be able to use Thonny. Thonny is an environment where we can code on our computer, whereas Code Sculptor allows us to code on the internet, right? So click on Code Sculptor. The first task is to create a hello world program, right? So our first program, if you're not using Code Sculptor, you can ignore these bits because these are the instructions for using Thonny, right? Thonny is just a tool or an app so we can use Python on our computer, right? If we're using Python on the internet, then we can just copy this code into Code Sculptor here, print hello world, let's get rid of the space, and then you should see hello world appear here. There we go. Right, that's the task complete. That's all we've got to do. Right, so for those of you that are confused, do it in Code Sculptor. Right, don't worry about Thonny. But I did want to show people that might want to use Thonny how to do it. Right, it's the same thing. You can see here I put print hello world, my output is hello world. Here in Thonny I put print hello world, and my output is hello world. But it's a little bit more complex in Thonny because I've got to save my files. Yes, Thonny is a website. So Code Sculptor is a website. Right, so now I can screenshot this and put it into my Python, or right, I can still save my work in Code Sculptor. So when I click save here, so this page has got an address, a URL, a web address here. When I click save, this address is going to change. So watch. There you go. This address is now unique, which means this link will take me to this page if I paste it on the internet. So if you copy this link, we paste it into another browser here and press enter, look, I can get my code back. So if you can't screenshot, just copy the link here, and then I can click on the link and see your code. Right? So Code Sculptor, to save our work, we click save and just copy the link at the top. Right, so that's the first task done. Right, the first task complete, which was just for us to do a basic output. Right, now we know how to do output. We're going to look at different ways of outputting. Right, so it says add the following lines of your code to your hello world problem. So we're going to copy these, and I'm just going to do this in Code Sculptor for those people who are confused. Right, so printing styles. So I'm going to copy and paste this code here. Right, now there is a little problem with copying and pasting this, and you can see that the color of my hello world isn't the same here, and that's because my speech marks aren't right. The speech marks on the web page are not the correct speech marks for some reason, so I've now got to change them by using the speech marks on my computer. Look. So if I try and run this, it won't work, so I've got to change all these speech marks. Oh well. So change them to the speech marks above the number 2. Change all of those. Okay. Right, so I run this now, and we should see all of these hello worlds print out differently. And we should then try and work out what's going on. Right, okay, so I've got hello world, yeah. Print hello world, hello world, yes. So they're on separate lines, that makes sense. The gap doesn't appear, right? Doesn't matter if I leave a gap or not, because there's not going to be a gap here. So print hello / n world. What's that? It's gone hello world. Hello world. What's that done? Print hello comma world. Oh dear, haven't put my speech marks in there. Mistake. Right, let's try that again. Made a mistake there. Right. Hello comma world just gives me hello world, and I haven't put the speech marks in here. I'll get this right in the end. So I haven't changed those speech marks. Right, try again. There we go. Right. So hello world, first one. Hello world, each on a new line. Hello / n world. Ooh, this does something. Oh, this / n does something. Puts the world on a new line. Maybe that's what / n means. Hello comma world just gives me hello world, just the same as the top. But hello plus world seems to join the two together. Right, so you just need to explain what you think each line of code has done. That's task 2. The final task. Oops, no, this is not the final task. Long text task. Right, and again, we've only got an hour to do this, so get as far as you can. So if you've only got 10 minutes left, you can skip this one and go to the finding errors. I prefer you to get the finding errors than the long text, okay? So if you run out of time, go to the finding errors, because it's important, because you will get errors in your code, and this explains what they are and gives you a chance to fix them. So let's go for to fix the error here. Right, if you're confused, you'll have to stay behind at the end and I'll speak to you then. Right, so we're now going to try and print out some code, but we're going to get errors and we're going to try and fix them. Right, so I'm going to copy the code in here. Now you can see that the speech marks are printed out correctly here, so I haven't got to do anything other than run my code, but I'm going to get an error. So line 5, syntax error. So let me go back here, EOL. Right, so here's an error, invalid syntax. So syntax in code means it's like the grammar, right? It's like the grammar of the code. If we're missing a bracket, missing a speech mark, it will give us a syntax error, right? So we've got to be able to fix our code because we will make mistakes when we're coding. Right, for those of you who are confused, all we're doing is learning how to print using Python. That's it. Right, that's all we're doing. We're learning how to print in Python. We have to output things to the screen. Right? There's no point using a computer if we get nothing on the screen. This web page here has been outputted to the screen. That's how we're using it. So we need to know how to use code to put things on the screen. So that's what we're learning how to do. And in Python, we use the print command to do that. Right? But it's not just as simple as using the print command. Sometimes we want to do things like print things on multiple lines. Right? And there's different ways of doing that. And sometimes we'll use print and we'll get an error because we've made a mistake. And that's the biggest problem when we're coding. We'll go to print something out and we'll get an error and we think, what's going on? Normally the error is a syntax error, right? Which means we have missed some part of our grammar out. So when we write in code, the computer, which is stupid, expects the code to be written in a certain way. And if we miss anything out, it refuses to run. It tells us, no, there's an error there. And it doesn't say, oh, it's a missing bracket. It says things like invalid syntax or end of line while scanning string literal. Right? This doesn't really tell you much unless you understand the intricacies of coding. But what we do know with a syntax error, it means that the code isn't written correctly. So there's something wrong with the way we've written the code. Right, so if we go back here hello everyone is a syntax error, and I can see that I'm missing a speech mark. Right, and if I put my speech mark in and rerun my code, hopefully I won't get a red line on this line. It'll jump further down. There we go. So line 8 is a syntax error, bad input. Right, so again, I've got my template for how my print statement should look, and if whatever's wrong with this one, I should be able to see by just looking at my perfect one or perfect ones at the top. So it's like a spot the difference. Right, so it's playing spot the difference until every one of these lines print out and we get a poem on the screen. Right, so that's the task. Again, I would prefer you to do that than to do task 5. If you are confused, please don't attempt task 5. Right, just do the first task, look at printing styles. In the printing styles, what you have to do is explain what these 3 symbols are doing. What is the /n doing? What difference does it make? What is the comma doing? And what is the world doing? Look, if you see here, hello and world are 2 different words. There are 2 different words here. And they're being joined by these 2 symbols, comma and plus. And we're going to use comma and plus when we're doing our printing, so you need to know what they do. So that's why we're going to print it out and see what happens, and see if we can explain what we think the plus is doing, what the comma is doing, and what the /n is doing. Right, that's the purpose of this task, to explain what is the difference between the comma and the plus, and what does the /n do. We know what these do, they just print out hello and print out world. That's obvious. But what do these do? But just be careful when you're copying this, because I've got these fancy speech marks that don't work properly. So make sure you change the speech marks. Right? Skip the next task if you're confused. Right? Because this might just confuse you further. I don't want to do that for now. Skip to task 6 and just fix these errors so that you get the whole thing printing out. Now when you get to the end, right? So let's say you fix half of this. Again, click save at the top. We get copy this link here, paste it into your PowerPoint. And again, I'm going to paste it into a brand new browser page, and you will see I'll get the exact same code, exactly the same as this other page. So if you get stuck, right, if your code's not working, you say, sir, what's wrong with my code? Just go save, copy the link, paste it in an email, and I will help you fix it. Right, so that's today's lesson. It's really simple. It's understanding the print statement. So let me just go over what we've got to do. We've got to, first of all, open our PowerPoint. Secondly, for the tech savvy, for those of you who are good at this kind of thing, you could try using Thonny. However, if you're a bit unsure or confused, you will use Code Sculptor, right? Just by clicking on this image, which will take you to the blank Code Sculptor page. Click on it, I get to here. Right, you will then just do a simple print hello world, right? The next task is just to get this to work. Print hello world. It should appear in the output here. Print. Oh, don't miss brackets out. Print hello world. There we go. Run. Woohoo! I've succeeded with task 3. Screenshot. Right. Oops. Minimize that. Shouldn't have done that. This is the code that goes behind Learn IT with Mr. C. Right. So done that task. Don't worry about all of that. This is just explaining what's happening in Thonny. All right. Printing styles. You've just seen me do that. You can copy the code, but don't forget to change the speech marks. See if you can work out what these symbols do when we're printing out. And then if you're running out of time, see if you can complete the debugging of errors. So copy this code into Thonny and see if you can get it to go all the way, print the whole poem out. It'll be fantastic. And then you're done, right? Then you're done. Don't worry about anything else. Right. For those of you who have understood what I've just said and what they've got to do, thank you very much for attending. I'm going to stop recording now.